It's now time for the Billy C. Show, part of the BillyCBoxing.com network.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing okay. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on beautiful St. Simons Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simons for authentic Italian meal. And today's show is also being brought to us in part by, you guessed it, my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. You can get a copy of this book right now. I'm talking right now while you're watching or listening to this very show. Just visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. On today's show, we're going to talk about the upcoming fight between Manny Pacquiao and Adrien Broner. We also got a bunch of other stuff to talk about, some other fights that I wanted to touch on as well that are coming up that will give you our breakdowns and predictions. We got the crew joining us today, so we will get their thoughts as well, of course. But first, I want to talk about some current things that are going on. There was some fights last night, actually Friday night, between on ShoBox. And on paper, it reminded me of the fights of old, so to speak, with the way they used to put young fighters in the ring together, virtually at the same level, truthfully, they weren't. It just seemed some of the same stuff that we talk about frequently on this show about fighters that are experienced and they get put in with sacrificial lambs. More importantly, I think that what's happened here with the show from Friday on ShoBox from Louisiana was that we had a classic example, at least of two of the fights, where you had one fighter now they all had similar records, but one fighter clearly better than the other. The other fighter built up for an opportunity, just like Friday night. But first and foremost, the heavyweight fight is an example of what I was talking about. Frank Sanchez improved to 11-0 with 9 knockouts when he scored a second-round knockout over Willie Jake Jr. Willie Jake Jr. drops to 8 wins, 2 losses, and a draw, with a couple of his wins coming by knockout. The official time was 2 minutes and 59 seconds of the second round. He took a shot, went down, and one of the announcers said, I don't think he wants to get up. And that's what it looked like to me. Another football player turned boxing, novice, I guess. They built him up where he was okay. And it just, Frank Sanchez didn't look spectacular, but he got the win, and he improved to 11-0. Keep an eye on him. He's just what they keep calling as a smaller heavyweight, at least by today's standards. Also on the card, Ruben Villa improved to 15-0 with 5 knockouts when he beat also previously undefeated Ruben Cervera, who drops to 10-1, 8 over an 8-round fight, 80-72. The way the 3 judges saw that one, Villa looked like a fighter to keep an eye on for sure. And then in the main event, Devin Haney, who also promoted the show, improved to 21-0 with 13 of his wins coming by knockout with a 10-round unanimous decision over, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this poor guy's name. I know it's Nundung Janai. I won't try to pronounce his first name. You guys know, anybody that's been watching the show for a long time knows that I'm the moiterer of people's names. He drops to 25-1. He did get dropped in that fight in the second round. He looked like he was game, but just did not have the skill set of Haney. The way the judges scored it, 100-89 twice and 99-90. So there's where we were with the fights from Friday night. So in any event, we also had some news I wanted to talk about real quick. We all know, the cat was out of the bag, so to speak, with the upcoming fight between Terence Crawford and Amir Khan. It hasn't officially been announced yet, but according to multiple sources, it will be announced this week. It is scheduled to take place on April 20th in either New York or Vegas. And, Terence Crawford, we talk about him a lot. I have him kind of tied for pound number one with Vasily Lomachenko. And I believe, as much as most people that watch his show who are diehard boxing fans know who Terence Crawford is, a lot of other people don't. And, one of the reasons they don't know is because he hasn't really been – okay, you guys are going to disagree with the verbiage I'm going to use right now. And I'm waiting for Sal to figure out how to turn his computer on. So hang tight. We'll get Sal's thoughts here in a few minutes. But Terence Crawford has been on the big stage, but it wasn't done in the correct order. So now you got a guy like Terence Crawford who's as talented as he is, and he's with a promoter who actually invests money in their fighters in Bob Arum and Top Rank, and yet he's not a household name. I think even Vasily Lomachenko is more known than Terence Crawford. I don't think it's right, and I think that the fight is going to be an interesting one, and we'll have to wait and see. But Terence Crawford, the time for him to fight Errol Spence is now. Yes, fighters today, their careers are longer. You see older fighters, fighting in the ring in the 30s, which really wasn't, that common in years gone by. But, I don't think it's fair to Terence Crawford. I blame a lot of the route that he's taking on Top Rank. And I think that Terence Crawford needs one of these big fights. And I think the biggest fight for him that would get him really the biggest money that he could make would very well be, geez, boys and girls, guess who's finally came for dinner? My man Sal Rocky Senecola joins us. Hey, Sal, you finally got it, huh?
Man, let me tell you something. I just rebooted and went for the field goal. I don't know. God,
well, welcome, Sal. Sal, we're talking about Terence Crawford against Amir Khan. The fight's going to be announced. We are going to get into the Manny Pacquiao, Adrien Broner upcoming fight as well. But, I don't think that Bob Arum is doing Terence Crawford any justice. I believe that Terence Crawford has proven that he deserves a mega fight. And I think Amir Khan, although Amir Khan is a good fight, I think the fight that most boxing fans really want to see is Terence Crawford against Errol Spence, or Terence Crawford against that other guy. What's his name out of Florida? What's his name? I think he's making a comeback. Keith Thurman. Remember him? I thought he left.
No relation to Uma Thurman.
Yeah, no. I thought maybe he left the business, but in any event, I think that Terence Crawford deserves a big fight. Well, a fight that is some kind of a title fight where you can accumulate other titles, a unification, if you will. And, it just seems to me that Bob Arum, and bless his little heart for being around and staying in the business for so long. It just seems like he's standing in the way of Terence Crawford to really catapult and be a big star. What's your thoughts?
Well, I don't know if I'd go as far as standing in the way, but I'll tell you what, he should be seeking out the top dollar mega fight that has the most significance. And you said it. I think there are a couple other fighters out there that would make more sense, including Keith Thurman. I mean, I'd love to see that fight. That would be a great fight. And I think people pay a lot of money for that, especially in the wake of having no presence in the boxing ring as Keith Thurman has displayed to his fans.
Some other news I wanted to touch on real quick. Frank Warren, who is Tyson Fury's promoter, has confirmed, at least via a couple of interviews, that boxing fans will be getting the rematch between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder some point during the second quarter of 2019. So that's after March for you boys and girls out there that don't understand the quarter, the way we break it.
The quarters.
I always go January, February, March. Oh, yeah, April, May, June. Oh, yeah. So after March. Now, my question is, we all want to see it. And I do think that the only fight that I would prefer to see before a rematch would be Anthony Joshua against either of the two. But, of course, Deontay Wilder still has the belt, so we would want to see that. But what's your thoughts on them having the rematch first? Do you think that, because there's a lot of rumor that Deontay Wilder is going to fight, sometime before the rematch against Dominic Breazeale because WBC has him as his mandatory. Do you think that Wilder and Tyson Fury should both fight a fight first, or you think they should go right into their rematch?
Well, I would have liked to have seen this already signed, sealed, and delivered. I think they could have gone right into a rematch mode. Now we're getting away, and all the other opponents seem to be working their way into the picture. And Dominic Breazeale is definitely a worthy opponent, and I think that for a mandatory title defense, Deontay Wilder is going to most likely take that fight. But it should have been immediately thereafter, the fight. It should have been talked about that week. Hey, we're going to settle this. We're going to start round 13, and we're going to see who really is the champ or who really won this fight. And, that's part of the drama, part of the thing. It's part of what fans like. But, it's not always what the fans want, as we so learn. So on that level, I could almost see this. But, Bill, as we talked about years ago, every fight that takes place between Deontay Wilder and whatever opponent is one fight further away from the fight that everybody originally wanted to see. And that's Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua. And every time they fight, it takes one step away from that showdown that's not inevitable anymore. And also a risk involved here that it may never take place for whatever reason, and including a defeat. So it'll be okay if they have a rematch. I'd like to see it with them facing each other first. But a tune-up fight in Breazeale fighting for the championship against Deontay Wilder, we'll have to put up with. It's not a question of what.
You use the term tune-up fight, and the problem with fighters today is they fight so infrequent. They need a tune-up fight. I mean, you're right. If they would have fought immediately after. One other thing that I found interesting from Frank Warren is he said, "We will not return to California, specifically the Staples Center." He said, "I wouldn't want to go back to California. I didn't like working with the California Commission, and there were a lot of things we didn't like there." But he goes on to say Vegas would have been one of the options for that fight. I don't understand why. At this point, and I know you're the president of Deontay Wilder's fan club, but the truth of the matter is is, Deontay Wilder would be better off fighting in England. He would make more money. And I think Tyson Fury has proven beyond any reasonable doubt that he's a bigger draw than Deontay Wilder. It proved that even though the fans came out for the fight here in the U.S., and it was conducive to U.S. TV and stuff like that, I think that, Wilder's got to be, this is the whole point. Wilder's got to be thinking about maximizing his revenue. And if you're gonna not fight Anthony Joshua, which is going to get him more money than anything, and he's going to fight Tyson Fury again, which will earn him some bucks, why not fight in England, where he could probably make substantial more substantial money in England than he could in the U.S., because let's face it, all the U.S. Pay-per-view and all of that would still be in play. So what's your thoughts?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because you have to have the fight that, hey, you go over to your opponent's backyard. I mean, I used to love doing that. That was I got up for that every time. Yeah, I love to fight in my backyard, but boy, I'll tell you, every time I got up for that occasion, and you're going to steal the heart, steal the crowd, and steal everything, and you're not going to take any prisoners, and that's the mindset of a warrior, and that should almost be, with Deontay Wilder's thinking, hey, I don't care where the fight is, I'm going to maximize my dollars, and we're going to go. And it's funny you should say that, Bill, because we spoke a while ago. What were the final numbers of Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury? Did they ever come out? Do we know what's going on?
I never heard it. I never heard what.
Isn't that funny?
I haven't heard what they made. I've heard people telling me, "Oh, I heard this, I heard that," but I never heard any.
I heard there's a lot of heards. It's like they said. Who the hell they said?
And the funny thing is Deontay Wilder is believing that he's this draw from the people around him, and he's really not. And you're right. You're supposed to go to the champion's backyard and take the title, so to speak. But in this case, money talks here. But in any event, there's a lot of other fights we're going to talk about and break down. We're expecting Dax to join us and then Alex Papali. So I want to jump a little forward here, Sal, and get your thoughts on a fight that's coming up over the next weekend. Adrien Broner against Manny Pacquiao. We talked a little about this fight last week and I believe the week before as well. I'm not a big fan of the fight if this is a fight that is supposed to be earning Manny Pacquiao his rematch with Floyd, because Mayweather goes and fights some bogus kid in Japan. It makes a cool $9 million. It was a farce. And Manny Pacquiao, and then he says to Manny Pacquiao, "You got to fight Adrien Broner." Adrien Broner, with all his faults, is still a talented fighter. And at 40 years old, Manny Pacquiao is taking a huge risk. This is no layup fight for him. Manny Pacquiao coming off his win over Lucas Matisse. It was a very decisive win. He knocked out Matisse in the 7th round. Prior to that fight, he lost his title, which he had picked up from Jesse Vargas to Jeff Horn in Australia. It was a very controversial fight. But prior to that, he had beaten Timothy Bradley in a one-sided beatdown, but no stoppage. And the fight before that was the one with Floyd. So, I mean, Manny Pacquiao, since the Floyd fight in 2015, fought Floyd, fought Timothy Bradley, fought Jesse Vargas, won a title, lost his title against Jeff Horn, then regained a title against Lucas Matisse in July of last year. Now he steps in the ring with Adrien Broner, who's going to be a half-inch taller than Manny. Manny's 5.5, and Broner's 5'6". He also has a longer reach, Broner does, 69-inch versus 67-inch, and he's substantially younger. He's not even 30 years old yet. He won't hit 30 until July. So he's got 10 years plus 10 and a half years age advantage over Manny Pacquiao. He's ranked number 12 in the welterweight division by the computer. Manny Pacquiao is ranked number 4. What's your thoughts on this fight, man?
I think you know my thoughts. I love Manny Pacquiao for a multitude of reasons because he's a pure essence to the word of warrior. He's a combatant. He's a champion. He's a thoroughbred. But you know what? Like the Floyd Mayweather first fight between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, that was 5 years after the fact of when it should have been. And guess what? If this is all going to lead to another showdown and a last-minute cash-in for Floyd to pay taxes, you know, I think this is also going to be 5 years after the fact. And, you know, my thought on that, I think Floyd and Manny get in the ring 100 times, Floyd's going to win 90 of them. And I think that it should have been when Manny came back from the shoulder injury, that should have been his sole purpose and his pathway to that. But it didn't happen.
Yeah, but that's not because that was because of Floyd. Listen.
Okay, but whatever it is. But yeah, go ahead.
No, but what I was going to say is, you keep saying that. You keep saying, oh, if they fight 100 times, 99 are going to go to Floyd, and you're probably right. But I think Floyd's arrogance, and I don't even want to talk about that guy, but I'm just saying Floyd's arrogance, and the way most of his fan base thinks and has him on this pedestal, which it makes me sick. He's aging too. The big difference between him and Pacquiao is Pacquiao's taken more abuse. His body has taken more abuse in the style that he fought versus the style that Mayweather fought. But make no mistake, I think the activity of Manny could be beneficial when and if they ever have a fight again. But the point is that Manny Pacquiao is in a very difficult fight with Adrien Broner. Adrien Broner, has tried to sell the fact that he's learned his lesson. I think he's got 47 court dates scheduled for all his shenanigans. But, he's still a young, talented fighter, although he was way more talented as a lightweight. I don't think this is an easy fight for Manny Pacquiao, Sal. That's my point. I don't think it's an easy fight. I think, Adrien Broner, if he opens up, if he lets his hands go, this is going to be a very difficult fight for Manny. The only way that Manny Pacquiao can beat Adrien Broner is if he does what Manny Pacquiao used to do, and that is be able to land punches on Adrien Broner from crazy angles, dart in, dart out, boom, 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 moving around, and break down Adrien Broner. And I think Adrien Broner is expecting that, and to a fault, he's going to sit and wait because he's defensively sound, and he also has a good chin. I have this strange feeling that Adrien Broner, his game plan is to catch Manny Pacquiao, similar to when he was knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez back in 2012, where he just kind of walked into that punch, and next thing you know, he was face down. I just have this feeling that that's Adrien Broner's game plan.
I think you're right, and here's the other thing here. As I said earlier, Manny's a warrior. He'll fight anybody. He'll fight anywhere. He just has that heart, that nature. That hey, I'm a fighter. I'm a warrior. Put somebody in front of me. I'm gonna go get him. And you gotta appreciate and respect that. He doesn't have to have the emotion, the drama, and all that stuff to get up for a fight. He just knows he has an opponent in the opposite corner, and he's gonna be relentless in trying to beat him. Now, Adrien Broner, I think he's got more to gain from this fight than Manny Pacquiao. That's another thing. But like I said, Manny doesn't need the incentive. He is a warrior. He's just going to want that opponent in front of him, and he's going to try and be relentless and knock him out. But with that being said, Adrien Broner does have more to gain from a victory over Manny. Number one, if he really is serious about getting back on track and being in the top of the limelight and in contention for a title and everything else, yeah. Being ready to start off the year and beating Manny Pacquiao would be a heck of a statement and more leverage for him to negotiate to blossom in this year ahead. And maybe, and I think it's a dangerous fight. I think it's a very risky fight for Manny to take. But it's going to happen next week. And I think Adrien Broner's got a lot to gain from this fight. And I could see his style, just as you mapped out, maybe waiting for Manny to make a mistake. and then hitting him with a real good counter shot, and hopefully coming up aces. So, yeah, I see this fight being a very good one. And guess what, boys and girls, as Bill would say, I don't see this a rollover or an easy fight for Manny. I see Adrien Broner possibly pulling a really good upset.
I don't even know if it should be considered an upset.
I know. He'll upset Manny, is what I meant.
He'll upset Manny's mom, too, but that's beside the point. I just, and I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I said that. I agree with Sal 100%.
I can't roll. Yeah, wait, we have a replay.
Yeah, I did say that. I agree with Sal that Adrien Broner. This is an important fight because Sal, it could turn his career around. Right now, people are it's human nature because I do it too, of course. But they're taking some of his outside the ring antics and some of his less than stellar performances because of lack of dedication, et cetera, and they're acting like that's Adrien Broner of today. And I still believe he possesses the talent, and a win over a guy like Manny Pacquiao, even though he's 40 years old, could turn Adrien Broner's career around. So he's got a lot to gain, not much to lose. Manny Pacquiao, on the other hand, he does have a lot to lose. His goal is to get the rematch with the idiot Floyd Mayweather. But he also, he's doing what a lot of fighters of yesteryear did and continue to burn the candle when his skill set is diminishing and the newer generation that might not have seen him in his prime are going to get this taste that he was not that good. And I think in the sport of boxing, the legacy is really what you fight for. At the end of the day, Sal, it's what you're fighting for, aside from the money, of course. But the legacy is something that goes down and really lives on forever. And a lot of these fighters don't know when to say when, and they taint their own legacy.
Well, you know what I haven't said in the year 2019 yet?
It's early.
Bingo.
That you're going to make a comeback?
Bingo. No, that too. But no, I and that's exactly why this is a more significant fight I see for Broner because, like I said, he can map out the whole year ahead of him and be on a real pathway back if he's serious because he's a talented fighter. Manny, like I said, this guy's been to the mountain and back. You love Manny for just the career he's had, but every fight he has going forward could be a blemish on his career because, like some fighters, they just never really lose that combatant nature and want to keep their heart and their mind in the ring, including me. I'd be fighting tomorrow if I could. Maybe I will. But the bottom line is Manny, I think his legacy, peaked. And I think anything else coming after the fact, how do you write a story and tell tales about a guy that's been to the mountain and back, except in his later years, if he's not going to have significant victories, he's going to have significant defeats for other opponents.
The only fights you should be doing is with your vendors to get better pricing, Sal. Come on, man. Come on.
You got a point there. I got to look at that. That's a good point. Thank you very much.
Hey, listen.
I like that humbling reminder.
Hey, listen, you don't touch any settings.
I'm not going to touch nothing.
Because we're looking good with your camera, and we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're scheduled to have Dax Khan join us. And we got a bunch of other fights we're going to talk about. So don't go anywhere because we will be right back.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher, no kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you have First American warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patent belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
Remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you have a friend, family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties compound daily your back taxes. You under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Listen, are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America, 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Hey, don't forget about our new 24-hour, 7-day-a-week TV channel. That's right. Check out Ginico. And I'm probably spelling it wrong. GINICO USA.com. You can catch the show now. And then some. We have all kinds of stuff, not only replays of this show, but a lot of our events that we've done. We are in our 15th year. It's been getting great reviews. Check it out. You can pick up that network on Roku and Hulu and all the other stuff. Go to www.ginico, USA.com and check it out. It's for free, of course. So joining us right now, all the way from, well, not too far, is my man Dax Khan. Good morning, Dax.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. I wanted to talk to you about a bunch of the fights that we got cooking on TV coming up. Especially, let's talk about the one tonight. It surprises me. I just want to go on record as saying this. It surprises me that this fight was scheduled for a Sunday. Now, don't get me wrong. I like it, except they should have waited a couple of weeks. I mean, this fight goes on, and it's going to be airing head-to-head with the NFL playoffs, and I think that the fight is going to suffer TV viewing-wise and live gate-wise. And, of course, it's the title fight, Jose. I'm just going to call him Jose Yu because, you know, I've heard so many different pronunciations of his name against Caleb-Plant. What's your thoughts?
Jose Uzcategui and Caleb-Plant. But the PBC's had some Sunday fights. I believe that the Errol Spence and
No, I'm not saying that Sunday's not a good idea. I'm just saying that during the NFL playoffs, it's not a good idea.
During the NFL playoffs, right? Yes, I was going to say. But the first Heather Hardy and Shelly Vincent fight, which took place on the Sunday, had high ratings. So maybe it is a bad time to put it up against the NFL. But yes, I agree. I do like the Sunday night fights, which, you know, I wouldn't be upset if we had more of.
Oh no! I'm all for it. I just think that the choice of having it during listen. The NFL playoffs are one of the highest rated television viewing events, you know, in the United States. You know, so I mean, to go up against it, and then the other part is you could say, well, people could record it, you know, DVR it and watch it or whatever, and still get it. But I think it's even a stupid idea for the live gate because you know, how many people are going to go and buy a ticket when the game is on? I don't know. With the exception of diehard boxing fans. But, Dax, come on. You know as well as I, the success in boxing has to go beyond the diehards.
Well, that's one of the benefits, Bill, we've been speaking about lately is the streaming apps that are available worldwide. This is not one of those that are available worldwide. But, you know, remember, the NFL is only popular here in the United States. Around the world, it's not. So if this was on a streaming service, the views would probably be a lot higher and you'd have some more of that international exposure as we've been speaking about lately.
Right, but unfortunately it's on Fox.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately
FX,
it's not, so.
FX1. But anyway, Jose Yu, the big U, 28 wins and 2 losses, and one of which was extremely controversial. He's ranked number 8 in the world. I like this kid. You know, does Caleb-Plant have or I say Caleb. I think he pronounced his name as Caleb, but in any event, does he have a chance? Because he seems to have turned it on of late.
You know, Plant is a mover. In the past, you know, Uzcategui, you know, he shows that he takes a few rounds to get going. We've seen that in the first Durrell fight. And Plant, though, really hasn't been in there against anybody, you know, elite or, you know, at that top level, even at that level of Andre Durrell. I think his best win is over Porky Medina, who Uzcategui had faced but 5 years earlier before Porky Medina had that many miles on him. So, you know, it's interesting. And, of course, Jose Uzcategui has gotten better over the years, you know, with pressure. And we've never really seen what happens when Caleb-Plant is under a lot of pressure from a strong fighter like Jose Uzcategui, who has a good chin. The only time I think he was down was back in 2013 or 2012, when he faced a younger Matt Korobov, who at that time was undefeated, and they actually had a little bit of a war for a while. So this is more or less a test on Caleb-Plant. It's a step up in competition. It's certainly going to be the biggest stage he's been on, and Uzcategui has shown in those 2 Durrell fights that he has no problem with pressure. He has no problem with whether or not, you know, how the fight should adjust. You know, he's in there, he's steady, he's a go-forward fighter. So in my opinion, the only thing that in this fight that goes for the benefit of Caleb-Plant is the fact that he is a mover and he could possibly steal a decision. If he stands there and he tries to trade, I think Jose Uzcategui is going to knock him out. It's one of those fights where, you know, whoever wins this one is going to go up to that next level. You know, whoever loses it is going to, you know, more or less fade off, because this super middleweight division isn't really doing much business right now out in the United States, at least. It is in the UK, because Chris Eubank Jr. and James DeGale, they have a fight coming up, and the winner there is more likely going to face the division king, Callum Smith.
I'm picking Jose in this fight. I think he's going to win. I think Plant, you know, he's become that guy that, you know, will be the best of the next level guys. You know what I mean? But the top level guys, I think Jose might be on the verge of stepping in. I think he's in between right now. Who do you like? Who's going to win?
I think Jose Uzcategui is going to win. I think he's going to wear him down. I think he's going to get a late stoppage, unless, like I stated, Caleb-Plant just continuously moves and he steals the decision, which is possible. Before
we get into really talking about Manny Pacquiao, Adrien Broner, a couple other fights I wanted to get your thoughts about that I like. Bryant Jennings against Oscar Revis next week is a pretty good heavyweight fight. Although when you look at the way the computer sees these two, it seems like a mismatch on paper. Bryant Jennings is ranked number 11 at 34 years old in the heavyweight division. Somewhat a small. This guy reminds me. I've said it 100 times. He reminds me of a combination of a Evander Holyfield and a Michael Spinks. He's awkward when he fights. He recovers quickly. He's in great shape. Obviously, I'm not comparing him to either one of those two, but in a sense, he reminds me of him. But I've always liked him. I just don't think he's the same fighter since he was destroyed, knocked out. I thought he was killed in the Luis Ortiz fight up at the Turning Stone. He's followed that up with wins over, let's just say, very marginal opposition. Oscar Revis is a young heavyweight. I guess by years he's really not, but young in terms of his amount of fights, 25. He's been carefully moved, but he's got some decent fights too. He's a guy that a lot of people have high hopes for. What's your thoughts on this fight?
This is a case of these guys who just aren't built, really, in my opinion, for this era of heavyweights. These guys are the size of the heavyweights of, the eras previous. Bryant Jennings, is a talented fighter. He's a Philadelphia fighter. He's a tough fighter. He has well-rounded boxing skills. Oscar Revis is, not as known as Jennings because he hasn't had those high-profile fights, but he's certainly very capable and he's a dangerous fighter. Whoever wins this is going to get an opportunity, in my opinion, probably to face Deontay Wilder. I don't see either one of these guys stepping into that scenario where they're going to get a fight against Anthony Joshua, or I don't even see any one of these guys going and being a fight for Tyson Fury. Now, not too long ago, after the Anthony Joshua fight, actually, there was rumors it was supposed to happen between Bryant Jennings and Joseph Parker. I'm wondering, if that's a fight that may happen. The winner, or either the winners here, fight Joseph Parker, who's still a viable name despite losing his belt and having 2 back-to-back losses. But, they win this fight, they fight Joseph Parker, and that kind of puts them in the top 5.
Well, another fight that the winner might see is Jarrell Miller. Jarrell Miller is in the talks of getting a believe it or not, because I keep forgetting that he's got some version of some belt, but this would be in their minds a safe fight because, like you said, these guys are on the small side for heavyweights. But I'm picking Bryant Jennings in this fight. I think he's got another win in his system, and I think that he's going to earn a shot again against a major player. Who are you officially picking?
I think Bryant Jennings should be able. I think he's a better, more rounded boxer. I think he should be able to outbox Revis. As for Jarrell Miller, I think he's actually facing Trevor Bryant next.
Oh well, that would is that signed, sealed, and delivered?
I believe so.
Huh.
Well, I mean, it was rumored. I read a lot about it. I've talked to some people around both camps who said that was going to happen. I really haven't seen any official press releases, but that would be actually a very good fight for both. And remember, Trevor, even though that the title really means little, he has that title that actually once belonged to Luis Ortiz that Bryant Jennings was trying to get when he was knocked out by Luis Ortiz in 2015. He won that against B.J. Flores back in October 11th of last year.
Well, Brian, the thing that makes me laugh about Jarrell Miller is he claims he's the best, and fighting a Bryant Jennings, I think, in my opinion, would be more credible. Nothing against Trevor Bryant, but anyway, let's move on. You know how I feel about Jarrell Miller. I mean, this guy is just. But anyway, another fight I wanted to talk about, and this is an interesting fight for me, and I'm really looking forward to this on the pay-per-view, on the undercard of the Manny Pacquiao pay-per-view card. Marcus Brown against Badou Jack. Badou Jack made a comment about this fight that he said, I feel young and I feel like I'm still improving. I take care of my body. Age won't be a problem for me. It'll be an advantage. I'm battle tested. I've been there before in tough fights. He hasn't been tested like that, so we'll see what happens. Marcus Brown is substantially younger at 28 years old. The computer sees him at number 10 in the world at light heavyweight. And Badou Jack is 35. That's something that did surprise me because I agree with his comment. He doesn't look like he's an aging fighter. This guy has 3 draws. We all know what 3 draws mean in the sport of boxing. But I love Badou Jack. There was a time I didn't. But I tell you the truth, what I love about this kid is that he has gotten better and better and better. And I think he's a tough out. No disrespect to Marcus Browne, but I do believe that the winner of this fight will be Jack. What's your thoughts?
First, look at the draws that Badou Jack has had. It was against James DeGale, when James DeGale pretty much everybody thought was the top of the division, and he had the draw against Adonis Stevenson, which most felt, and I felt, that he won. Badou Jack actually is a guy I'm a big fan of as well, because he actually, Badou Jack got better after his loss to Derek Edwards. A lot of guys who have a career building up to a moment like that, where they haven't had to deal with any adversity, kind of crumble afterwards, and they show no direction. Instead, Badou Jack reinvents himself, and less than a year later, he beats Anthony Durrell and wins that WBC super middleweight title. He has that fight with George Groves, who at that time was considered top of that division before the James DeGale fight. And then he jumps up a division and he just totally destroys Nathan Cleaverly. Badou Jack in every outing gets a lot better. And I agree that Marcus Browne does not have the experience that Badou Jack has in that next level. I actually believe that he lost the fight to Kalajic, which by 4 rounds, even though he got that split decision. And I think that a lot of his power, the myth that he's such a hard puncher, was more or less exposed in his fight against Lennon Castillo. So, Marcus Browne right here, outside of that power and outside some good but not elite boxing skills, is really taking a step up. Badou Jack, we know it's vulnerable early, and that's going to be Marcus Browne's best opportunities. Go in there, hit Badou Jack, get him down early, and stay on top of him, because Badou Jack, as we know, keeps getting up. Other than that, Badou Jack, once you get past that 5th round, he should have an easy time with Marcus Browne.
I think Badou Jack, the only knock on him, and you're so right. I mean, this guy, when you look at since 2013, after the draw with Marco Antonio Paribon, and the loss against Derek Edwards, I mean, he fought Porky Medina, and after the Edwards fight, he fought a tough Jason Escalera, Francisco Serrara, Anthony Durrell, Georgie Groves, Lucien Boutte, James DeGale, Nathan Cleverly, and Adonis Stevenson. I mean, those were the best of that division. Now, he moved up into the light heavyweight division, and he's already ranked number 3. With a couple of fights under his belt there. And I think that he's tightened up his defense a little better since the knockout loss at the Turning Stone. I like him, and I hope that he continues to move on. Now, the one thing I will say about Marcus Browne is he always comes in shape, Dax. He's always in good shape, and I think you make a great point about, trying to jump on Badou Jack early to catch him before he gets his train rolling, because he does. He has a tendency to start a little late. But do you think he'll try to change that? You think he'll try to start a little quicker against a younger and a guy that is known for coming in shape in Marcus Browne?
It might be. Again, Badou Jack is a guy who has completely rounded out his skill set. He's versatile, so he can come in there with different game plans. Marcus Browne, yes, he's in shape. He's a talented fighter, and I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but he just has not been on that next stage, that next level stage. If he should come out there and he should beat Badou Jack, whether or not it be knockout or decision, that kind of tells me that maybe Marcus Browne has been held back a little bit too long, and right now he should have already been up there at that next level. Whoever wins this fight, though, is first in line for Alexander Vodzik, and right now, Alexander Vodzik is the lineal champion. He beat Adonis Stevenson, so that's going to be curious to see where that goes. Alexander Vodzik, though, and Dimitri Bivol, I believe, are actually the class of this division. Remember, Badou Jack was supposed to fight Dimitri Bivol while ago with that title that he won off of Nathan Cleaverly. Since that fight never happened, when Bivol was the interim champion, Bivol was sent into as the regular champion, and then he was elevated to the super champion. This division is kind of crazy thanks to the WBA, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. But I'm certainly looking forward to this fight, because it's going to more or less map out what's going on in that division and what direction it's headed into.
Now, the fight that is going to happen next week. Adrien Broner is taking on Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao does have a title in this fight, the regular title, like you just said. It was great segue into the WBA. I mean, it's pathetic with all the belts they have. What's even more pathetic is the people who recognize them all and then bill it as such. But nonetheless, it is a belt. It is one of the major sanctioning bodies. What's your thoughts on this fight? I mean, you know, we've talked about it before, and you know, I was criticized when I said last week that I thought that Adrien Broner should be the favorite in this fight. I got several, let's just say, messages from Manny Pacquiao fans that says I'm crazy, I'm nuts, blah, blah, blah. But let's be real. I mean, Manny Pacquiao is 40 years old. He's been in wars. I know Adrien Broner is not a likable guy, but, I mean, for all intent purposes, you know, if Manny Pacquiao comes out like Manny Pacquiao was 10 years ago, he destroys Adrien Broner. But this isn't the Manny Pacquiao of 10 years ago. And I'm not so sure that Freddie Roach back in his corner is going to, you know, do anything really for him. I'm actually surprised that happened. How do you see this fight unfolding?
You know, I like the fight and I don't like the fight based off reasons that you just mentioned. You know, Manny Pacquiao, you know, he has that regular WBA title. He's still a world-class fighter, but he's certainly not the elite fighter that, you know, fans came to know as that prime destroyer of Manny Pacquiao. Broner, we know, you know, at one point in time was kind of looked at as possibly the heir apparent to Floyd Mayweather. You know, Broner, then once he got to 147 pounds, his power that he had and those lower weights wasn't quite as evident. We've seen in the Paulie Malignaggi fight that Adrien Broner's kind of the jab, for some reason he wasn't able to find any answer to that jab. And then in the Marcos Maidana fight, Adrien Broner went out there and he thought that he was going to bully Maidana, and Adrien Broner was beaten at every aspect of his own game. He was bullied. He was clowned on. You know, more or less it was like a man versus a boy. And ever since then, it's not been the same Adrien Broner. I really believe that Marcos Maidana broke this kid's spirit. You know, he kind of, you know, really destroyed this kid's mindset. And anytime that Adrien Broner has stepped up against elite competition, he has lost. Manny Pacquiao, though, at 40 years old, you know, is certainly not the fighter that we thought that he was in the past. But what I'm trying to say is when you look at that Matisse fight, Manny Pacquiao was more or less a boxer. He wasn't out there a valiant puncher. And to beat Adrien Broner, you have to be a valiant puncher. Adrien Broner freezes up when those punches are thrown at him in succession. Look at the Mikey Garcia fight. Mikey Garcia, as long as he was punching, all Adrien Broner did was stand on the ropes. And I think that at the age of Manny Pacquiao, if Adrien Broner is able to stay off those ropes, he's able to take Manny Pacquiao in the middle of the ring and get into those late rounds, kind of push Manny Pacquiao around a little bit like Jeff Horn did, I think Adrien Broner has a very good chance of winning this fight if he does that. If not, and he tries to lay on his ropes and tries to be a counterpuncher, Manny Pacquiao should win a wide decision unless Broner should happen to catch him, as you stated earlier, in one of those Juan Manuel Marquez counterpunch type moments. But Adrien Broner is certainly not the accurate type of puncher of a Juan Manuel Marquez.
You know, the thing is with Broner, if he lets his hands go, I mean, how many fights? You know, if you look at all the questionable fights, you know, all of his losses, his draw, some of his controversial wins, they were all types of fights where, you know, people are begging him to let his hands go and throw punches. Yeah. Why does he do that? Is he locked in because he's waiting to land that one punch that he feels he's going to counter and knock somebody on their butt, or is he shell shocked? I mean, I can't put my finger on it. You know, when he was a big lighter weight guy, when he was fighting in the lighter weights and he was, you know, would come in bigger than his opponent, I could see him being very picky with the punches that he wants to throw because he wants to be accurate and he wants to, you know, save his energy, etc., etc. But when he moved up in weight and he started fighting better fighters, that same scenario doesn't take place. But if he did utilize his hand speed, and he does have you know, he is an accurate puncher, he could have won some of those fights, or at least not had some of the others controversial. What happened to him? Why is he doing that? Why is he hesitant to pull the trigger? It seems
he's fighting a style that's not Adrien Broner's style. We see this in the gyms, and we discuss it all the time. These young kids, they see a fighter, or you get a trainer that sees a certain fighter reach a certain level of success, and they say, okay, I can teach that to my fighter, and they stick with it. And that's a problem with Adrien Broner. He tries to follow the Floyd Mayweather style, except he's not as effective, anywhere near as effective as Floyd Mayweather, and he's certainly not active with his punching, and he's not as accurate with his punching as Floyd Mayweather is. And I believe Adrien Broner has been doing that for so long in his career, ever since he has left that lightweight division. He has a hard time going back to what he knows best. And when you're in there against guys that are at that next level who don't allow you to adjust mid-fight, that becomes a problem. And that, in my opinion, has been Adrien Broner's problem, is that when he gets in there against these top-level guys like a Sean Porter, who's a very physical, strong guy who's going to maul you and throws a lot of punches, a guy like a Mikey Garcia who throws a lot of punches and he doesn't really give you an opportunity to counter because he doesn't stay right in front of you, or a guy like a Paulie Malignaggi who makes you continuously turn around using that jab, and he doesn't allow you to set your feet and counterpunch him. That's been the problem with Adrien Broner and why he's lost those fights. He's kind of seems confused in there, and he doesn't know how to adjust. That's something that Adrien Broner has to work on now, whether or not it's this fight, whether or not it's any fights afterwards, because, again, as he goes in there against these higher-level guys at a younger age, near his age, he's not going to be able to lay on those ropes.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that Adrien Broner is not putting the time in the gym anymore? Is his style just fighting to make it on his feet to the end of the fight and survive? Is he become, I'm going to survive 12-round type of a fighter, or is he just not putting in the time due to lack of dedication? Now, he claims he's rededicated himself to the sport, whatever. But the point is you know, it seems to me, especially with all the extracurricular activities outside the ring, that boxing, in terms of the 24-hour period of Adrien Broner's every day of his life, isn't a priority. Do you think that that's a result of him trying to, you know, the way he fights now? Do you think it's a result of not putting in the time, and he's just trying to be very cautious and efficient with his punches, so he doesn't want to lose energy, he doesn't want to gas out? I mean, you think that's something that he's doing purposely, or do you think it's something that's just coming because of a lack of dedication?
Well, I think the lack of dedication is a major part, and I believe that that lack of dedication was developed by those around Adrien Broner, and it was developed by the media. I always say that social media, whether or not it's the internet, boxing websites, or whether or not, you know, it's a Facebook or it's a Twitter, that, you know, you get these fans and these small media outlets that more or less build these fighters up to levels beyond what they've already accomplished. And then on top of that, depending on whatever network that you're with, whether or not it was HBO when that was active or Showtime, you know, they continuously, whatever fighter is going to headline, they continuously bring that fighter to a level that that fighter really is not at. And when you're in your early 20s and you're making those millions of dollars and you're on TV and you're going through divisions and you're winning these world titles in an era where it's easy to win world titles, not taking away from the accomplishment, but because there's so many and there's these interim versions of these titles, that they all of a sudden believe that they have reached that pinnacle of the sport, and then they really stop trying to advance their skill set if they're not with the right guys. It wasn't too long ago that Adrien Broner joined up with Kevin Cunningham, who was a no-nonsense guy, and he doesn't tolerate any of that outside of the ring behavior. He doesn't want that around his camp or his other fighters. Now, Adrien Broner needs to conform to that. I know that while he's in camp, he works very hard. I've seen a recent picture of him. Adrien Broner looks in shape. He looks like he lost a lot of weight. But then again, there's rumors that Adrien Broner, within the last less than a week, has been seen at night at several strip clubs. So which Adrien Broner is going to show up? I don't know, but you have to blame the people around you not keeping their fighters grounded. Remember when people used to tell their fighters, don't get ahead of yourself, kid. Worry about this fight. We'll worry about the next one next time. You know, it wasn't until fighters got later on into their career did they sit there and more or less take it easy on their bodies, you know, towards the tail end of their fight, where, as you were saying before, with Manny Pacquiao, stay around a little bit too long for, you know, for whatever reason. Nowadays, it just seems all these young fighters, they get one appearance on TV, they think they're a superstar, and then they have nothing to work for, they have nothing to aspire for, and the people around them, once they're getting a little bit of that money broken off, they don't think that this fighter has anything to improve on. And when that fall comes, it comes hard.
Geez, it sounds like you're talking about Tank Davis, brother.
Actually, Tank Davis, you know what? Ever since he joined with Kevin Cunningham, remember him and Adrien Broner went with Kevin Cunningham at the same time. Gervonta Davis, outside of some of his antics when he's not at the fights, not in training camp, and I do mean when he's at PBC shows, he's clowning around and things like that. But in terms of his shape, when he's not fighting, not adding all that weight on, has really dramatically improved. And Adrien Broner, who Gervonta Davis actually looked up to, Adrien Broner, in my opinion, can kind of take a few lessons from Gervonta Davis and say, you know what, I need to do what you're doing.
Hey, he's fighting soon, isn't he? Didn't I see that he's scheduled to fight pretty soon, right? Tank Davis.
I believe he is, and off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I believe, yeah, he's getting scheduled for a title fight.
Yeah, he's. I know he's scheduled to fight fairly soon, but anyway, Dax, great job as usual. And I just got to ask you another question. You've been watching our 24/7 channel. I mean, have you stumbled across any younger versions of Dax Khan on there yet, or what?
I have, and Gineco, I love it. Right now we're everywhere, and whether or not we're on Gineco or on Fight TV, we have so many different platforms. Not too long ago, somebody had contacted me. They were saying what a big fan of Law and Order their father was, a veteran in his 70s. So what I did was I got some of those photos from our show with the banner that's on in the background. I autographed that. I sent it out there, to Rachel. She gave that to her dad, who's an ex-retired veteran in the military. And and everybody, the more that they see us, the more that they're catching on. Wow, you know what? These guys, not only are they on all these outlets, they've really been on quite a bit in a lot of places for a long time. As you stated earlier in the show, 15 years. How many more years are we going to go, Bill? Can you go another 15 years? I can. I know another 15 years, Sal's going to make another comeback.
Yeah, well, Sal's probably going to be doing a comeback in 15 years. I don't know if I can make another 15, but you could keep the ball rolling, that's for sure. But anyway, great job.
I know I can talk straight for 15 years without taking a breath.
I know you can. Nobody's gonna argue with that. That's for sure. I don't know how you do it, but he does breathe, boys and girls. I just don't know how. I think he's got a hole in his back that gives him air. So when he's talking, it's constantly feeding him more air. But anyway, enjoy the fights. I know one guy that's not going to be watching NFL playoffs today and will be watching the fights, and that's my man Dax Khan. Dax, keep up the good work with the website, and we will talk to you next week, brother.
All right, everybody, enjoy the fights, and Bill, that thing where they throw back and forth at each other, whatever it is.
I got a DVR, though, brother. I like Jose. I like him, so I'm going to be watching it. Not tonight, but maybe tomorrow. But anyway, have a good one. That's Dax Khan. You can check his column up on BillyCBoxing.com. All right, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, we're going to have Sal back with us. Yeah. We're going to have Sal back with us. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Osteoarthritis in one or both knees? If you have osteoarthritis in one or both knees, are you on Medicare, Obamacare, or other health insurance? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knees, covered by Medicare at little to absolutely no cost to you. We also offer a prescription strength topical pain relief ointment that can be used for pain experienced on other areas of your body. Our experienced staff will work with your doctor and handle all of your Medicare or insurance paperwork. Best of all, your prescription is shipped directly to your home for free. Will you qualify for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knee or for a topical pain relief ointment covered by Medicare or private insurance at little or no cost to you?
Find out for free by calling the Back and Knee Pain Center at 1-800-604-1072. That's 1-800-604-1072, 1-800-604-1072.
Medical alarms for people who fall or have medical emergencies. You never think you'll need one until you do. Hi, I'm Lonnie Anderson for Advantage Alert. Today, our advanced systems locate and protect people inside and outside their homes, plus when they're on the road, allowing users with the press of a button to speak with an operator who can summon help. And even after 30 years, Advantage Alert's products remain amazingly affordable.
Call 800-985-1705.
Addiction is an epidemic in America. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, you need to call the R360 Network now.
I'm Ken Seeley, author, addiction recovery specialist, and former addict. R360 is a nationwide network of addiction recovery specialists that I personally selected and recommend.
The call is free, the consultation is free. If you have private insurance, your treatment could be covered with no out-of-pocket cost.
Call 800-705-0023.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, talking boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap. The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking about being with us, joining us again is Sal Rocky Senecola doing his best impression that I'm getting to watch that you guys aren't of the Three Stooges with the light bulb. And what were you doing, paying off somebody from Skype? I get the camera on you counting money, giving it to Skype, and I'm like, oh, at least he's got the picture back.
No, that was my impression of Uncle Fester.
Oh yeah. But you gotta have more. You gotta have more hair like me, but or less hair like me.
Right, anyway, it's my improv classes, Bill. I've been taking them to another level.
Yeah, you certainly have. So we let's finish up our thoughts on Adrien Broner making challenging Manny Pacquiao for his belt that he has, and it's worth about the belt that keeps my pants from falling down. But anyway, Adrien Broner, Dax and I were talking earlier. You go back with Adrien Broner. Just like Tank Davis when he was young. Now you got to go back 7 years, back to 2011. Well, I guess it's 8 years now, but 2011, beginning of the year. Well, okay, let's go back to his first big win, in my opinion, was against Julio when he knocked him out in the first round. Julio was well past his prime, but still was a quality fighter. But the fight that I thought that brought Adrien Broner, basically into the discussion was his 10-round unanimous decision over Daniel Ponce de Leon in March of 2011. He won the title, and he busted onto the scene, and he followed. Again, he was already on the scene. He was a guy that we were watching, but in my opinion, he arrived, and he was that upper level fighter, and he followed it up with demolishing Jason Lidsow, and he had a good win over Vicente Martin Rodriguez. Eloy Perez was an undefeated California fighter who I thought was really good. Destroyed him. Vincent Escobedo knocks him out. Gets in with Antonio DeMarco, knocks him out, who's a tough guy to knock out. Gets in with Gavin Rees, who was a top fighter at the time. Now we're in 2013. Knocks him out. Then he steps in the ring against Paulie Malignaggi, June 22nd, 2013. And this is when I feel that Adrien Broner's career started heading in a different direction. Many people believe Paulie Malignaggi should have won that fight. Adrien Broner did win. He won a split decision, 12-round decision over Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie Malignaggi still cries about this fight, and rightfully so. But Adrien Broner was just not the same fighter, and it wasn't because Paulie Malignaggi beat his butt, Sal. It was because his dedication, something that you are very adamant about when you're going to fight, the time you put in and the dedication, etc. This is where Adrien Broner started to slip. He fought Marcos Maidana and took a shellacking. I mean, this guy was beaten to a pulp. Credit, he finished the fight on his feet. He fought Carlos Molina, Emmanuel Taylor, John Molina Jr. Got beat up again by Sean Porter, followed with a couple of wins. He struggled with Adrian Granados. He won it, but it was a split decision. And then his last two fights, Mikey Garcia battered him for 12 rounds. And a like opponent with Manny Pacquiao, Jesse Vargas, fought him to a draw. The same Jesse Vargas that Manny Pacquiao beat for the title back in 2016. Like I said earlier, Adrien Broner is ranked number 12 in the world at welterweight. He's 5'6". He's got a 69-inch reach. He's got a record of 33 wins, 24 coming by knockout, 3 losses. Has never been stopped. He had the one draw, a 63% knockout ratio. He steps in the ring with Manny Pacquiao, Sal. I mean, and Manny Pacquiao is a Hall of Famer. There's no question. I don't care if he fights 5 more times and loses all 5 by knockout. He's still a Hall of Famer. He's still one of the best fighters that I've ever seen live. He's ranked number 4, which is still pretty damn good for a 40-year-old fighter, still in the mix to be ranked in the top 5. He's a southpaw, 5'5", 67-inch reach, former multi-division world champion. I mentioned his fights earlier. His last win against Lucas Matisse, a knockout. Says he likes fighting like that. Remembered how to knock people out. Coming off the loss to Jeff Horn. He had the Jesse Vargas fight, but look at the names on his resume. Timothy Bradley, he came up short against Floyd, but, fought Bradley a couple of times. Bam Bam Rios, Juan Manuel Marquez, he fought a bunch of times, with the knockout. Sugar Shane Mosley, Antonio Margarito, Joshua Clottey, Miguel Cotto, Ricky Hatton, Oscar De La Hoya, David Diaz, Marco Antonio Barrera, Eric Morales. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And, a lot of young fans may not even remember these guys. I mean, Eric Morales, a Hall of Famer now. I mean, you can't take anything away from him, And the fact that he's still fighting at this level is just amazing, Sal.
It is amazing. I mean, and that's why he's a Hall of Famer. He's a living, live, active fighter who is a Hall of Famer. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, the first chance they see him worthy or they allow once he does retire, he's going to be right in there. I mean, he's got a resume that, as you said, is just stellar. And there's really how many times could you go back to the mountain and get up for a fight? It doesn't matter to Manny because Manny's a warrior. As I said, he gets up for any fight. It doesn't have to worry about the incentive. He shows up. He wants to destroy the opponent in the opposite corner. That's the mentality. That's the mindset. And that's great. But my big concern is when is enough. And, I hope Manny is as cognizant of what's going on 20 years from now. Because he's not a little fancy Dan boxer. This guy's a warrior. He takes punishment, but he dishes it out. And I just think that this is a fight for Adrien Broner to really say to himself, "Hey, do I want to just be an opponent and fight every once in a while and be that spoiler or that journeyman one day, or do I want to resurrect my career, get back on track?" and show everybody what I'm really capable of, And I'll start it off in the year 2019 with a significant big win over Manny Pacquiao. That's why I think Adrien Broner's got a lot to gain from this fight.
Oh, of course. I mean, this fight for Adrien Broner. I mean, what Dax was saying, he changed trainers, and he has talked about him, dedicating himself more and more to back again to the sport. I mean, this could spell a lot of trouble for Manny Pacquiao.
It can, Bill.
And if he's, the one thing that Adrien Broner has done of late, since I'm talking, since he busted onto the scene, let's say for the last 5 or 6 years, what Adrien Broner has done is he has fought very cautiously and conservatively. And you have to wonder, is he doing this because he's overconfident? Is he doing it because he knows deep down he hasn't put in the work? Whatever the case is, like I said to Dax earlier, how many times we hear, people yelling, his corner yelling, let your hands go, let your hands go, let your hands go. And he waits, and then the fight's over. He can't do that with Manny Pacquiao. He has to come and take the chance, Sal, something that you did in every one of your fights. Take the chance and say to yourself, I'm going to knock this guy out, or he's going to knock me out. End of story. You can't be afraid to go in there and get knocked out. If Adrien Broner, and I'm saying that sitting from this chair, okay? So, I mean, I don't want to hear the criticism, but my point is that you can't fight Manny Pacquiao, even a 40-year-old version of Manny Pacquiao. Yeah, you can't fight Manny Pacquiao thinking you're going to land a shot. And let's be real, boys and girls, the Juan Manuel Marquez knockout punch, the counter punch that Manny got caught on his way in, that was a fluke. Is it available to other fighters? Yes. But don't for a minute think that because he got knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez, one of the greatest counter punches ever, is the way to beat him, because it's not. The way to beat him is to force him to fight. He doesn't like to see his own blood. He doesn't like, I mean, the Jeff Horn. I probably took the words right out of your mouth. Jeff Horn, a guy that has no talent. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say it, but nowhere near the talent level, the boxing ability that Manny Pacquiao has, but yet how he beat Pacquiao, which I don't think he beat. Honestly, I think Pacquiao won the fight. But Pacquiao fought he fought like he fought enough. You can't leave fights in the judge's hands anymore, Sal.
No, you can't. And you know what? And that was what was so disappointing with that fight when I observed it, because, you don't take for granted. First of all, you don't know what the judges see in the fight, which fight they're watching. You can only assume. And like I said, take it out of the judge's hands and knock your opponent out, or be so overwhelmingly convincing that you are winning this fight that, there is no doubt. It is what it is. And like I said, Manny's a warrior. He usually wants to give his fans everything he's got to show that he is still a viable, I hate to say the word opponent, a viable option. He's a champion. He's a world-class fighter. And no matter what age he is today, he is still a world-class fighter and a very dangerous fighter. And, it just so happens that Adrien Broner is also a world-class fighter. So this fight is very, very good on the level to where, we're looking at both fighters entering the ring, and hopefully the fighters that we see are the fighters that we anticipate are at their top of their game. And, so we'll see what happens. I'm excited to see the fight. But like I said, I'm always kind of concerned that Manny, is not thinking about retirement right now.
He's definitely not thinking about retirement. He should.
Well, not now.
But he wants so bad to get back in the ring with Floyd. And the funny thing is, you could see Adrien Broner trying to say to himself, well, Floyd was able to beat him. He was able to counterpunch him. He let Manny, do his thing and was able to pick his shots and stuff. But here's the thing. Floyd Mayweather, he's won fights and judges have scored fights for him because of his defense. Floyd's not an exciting fighter. He never was. Well, maybe in his early days, prior to him going on his own. When he was with Top Rank, he was exciting as a young fighter. But I've said this many times. You think of great fighters. If you want to think of Manny Pacquiao, somebody says Manny Pacquiao, you close your eyes and you start thinking of fights. I mean, the fights with Marquez and Eric Morales and Antonio Barrera and all these fights pop into your head. Mike Tyson, all these great fights pop into your head. Any fighter that's a great fighter, you think you have these instant memories come back. You think of Floyd Mayweather. What do you think of? You just, his image pops in your head maybe, but not a great performance. He's never had a great performance, in my opinion. Or let me rephrase it. He's never had an exciting performance. And I don't think Adrien Broner can win a fight that is technically sound or defensively sound like Floyd did against Manny Pacquiao. The judges leaned towards Floyd in his fight with Manny Pacquiao because Pacquiao did not throw enough punches. We still hear about the shoulder injury and everything else. But the truth of the matter is if Manny Pacquiao was a little more aggressive in that fight, he would have gotten the nod. He would have. Floyd Mayweather just doesn't throw the punches. Adrien Broner is not going to win this fight if he doesn't throw punches. And I'll tell you another thing. If Manny Pacquiao wins this fight, and I don't care how he wins it, but if he wins this fight and he does get his rematch with Floyd, I don't think Floyd will win. I disagree with what you're saying. And the reason why is because Floyd will try to fight the same way he fought. And assuming Manny doesn't injure his shoulder again, Manny will have to be more aggressive. And I think that Manny knows that he made a big mistake in that first fight. And Floyd, although he's pretty much preserved his body, he has not taken a beating ever. His age is getting to him, just like it gets to all of us. So, not looking ahead, my prediction for the Manny Pacquiao Adrien Broner fight, based on Manny Pacquiao's style, his career, and I believe he's got the fire burning again, Sal. I really do. And although I didn't think that he needed Freddie Roach in his corner, I'm not so sure he even listens to Freddie Roach anymore. I'm not even sure what Freddie Roach does for anybody anymore. But the one thing that I think that he will help light a fire under Manny's butt if he's not letting his hands go. Whether he can, get that point across to Manny or not, I don't know. But we all know that Freddie Roach is an offense-minded fighter, and Manny Pacquiao will win this fight if he's offensive-minded. If he tries to be too perfect, and Adrien Broner does come out a little aggressive, which I think that's his only chance, Manny could be in trouble, and this could be his last pro fight, and Adrien Broner could earn himself a big shot at somebody. But my official prediction is Manny Pacquiao by a decision. I think he's going to, if Adrien Broner loses this fight by a knockout, it'll be a TKO, and he'll quit on his stool. If Manny can muster up a performance like he did with Oscar De La Hoya or Antonio Margarita or Miguel Cotto, where he just unleashes a barrage of punches and just batters Adrien Broner, I could see him quitting on his stool. But I don't know if Manny Pacquiao can knock out Adrien Broner. Adrien Broner, you could say what you want about him, but he's got a solid chin. I'm picking Manny Pacquiao via a unanimous decision. What's your thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you what. I love how you dissected that and assessed it, and I think you always do an excellent job. And I could see the pathway and everything else. And as we were talking earlier, and I heard you with Dax, great segment, by the way, you and Dax. Always appreciate that. Which Adrien Broner is going to show up. And, I remember some of my conversations with the great old trainer, Chicky Ferrara, after we train. And, to look at a boxer's span, his history, his life. You know, I remember Chicky saying, "Hey, Sal, this is just a few short years that you've got to live clean, that you've got to be dedicated to boxing, that you've got to put everything in all and the blinders on and just be a boxer. That's it. Just be a fighter." And, you know, some fighters can do that. Some fighters can't. And like I said, Adrien Broner's had a little bit of the ups and downs with his dedication or some of the interference that he's allowed the outside life to get in the way of. But like I said, he's got a lot to win with this fight. He's got a lot to gain with this fight. Is the fire relit in his heart and his mind? Is he ready to take this big step and say, "Hey, I'm back. I'm with a whole nother camp. I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to show the world I'm serious. I know I've got talent, and America's got talent, and I'm going to show everybody what I'm capable of doing." So, like I said, that's a big fight to get up for, and I see Adrien Broner having that incentive if he keeps his head straight and everything else. And with that being said, I think he's got some good tools yet, and he has a heck of a chin. And I think Manny, and all due respect, like I said, I love Manny. He's a warrior. He's everything that a boxer, a fighter, a warrior should personify and should represent and should be. He is the poster child of that. But like I said, Adrien Broner, yes, he's 10 years younger. He's got a lot of fire, a lot of incentive. He's got the tools, and why not take this as a lesson? You know, if you're going to be fighting and you're going to be afraid to lose, that means you're afraid to win. I think Adrien Broner knows the significant value of this fight, and I think he's going to really look to see what he could expose in Manny. As Manny, I think when he fought Jeff Horn, it showed a lot of things there that I think other opponents that think they can beat Manny will try to capitalize and learn from. So I'll tell you what, Bill, and I'm probably going to get a lot of criticism from this, but I'm going to give the underdog, which I don't think is Manny. I think still is Adrien Broner, and I think Broner has a lot more to gain from this fight, and I want to see if Adrien Broner really puts it together and rises to the occasion and has that burning passion in his heart like Manny does. But I'm going to say that I think Adrien Broner is going to pour it on and possibly walk away with a victory.
You know, I'm not. That doesn't surprise me. And Adrien Broner should win. I mean, this is a guy that's not 30 years old. You know, if he's rededicated himself, he should win. I'm picking Manny, but I think I'm with you. I agree, and I think you're right for your reasons. You know, he's talented. There's no question about it. You know, when he's serious about the sport, Adrien Broner's a talented fighter. You know, he's younger. If he's got the fire again, if he truly has turned, you know, his life around like he says he has, then he should win this fight. Manny Pacquiao is not the same Manny Pacquiao as he was. He's not. He's not. He hasn't been the same Manny Pacquiao for 6 years. You know, he wasn't the same Pacquiao when he fought Floyd. And Floyd wasn't the same Floyd when he fought Pacquiao. You know, I mean, these guys are aging. You know, the sad thing about it is we still talk about them. Manny Pacquiao should be in retirement right now, you know, counting the days when he's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Same as Floyd, you know. So, you know, this fight is Adrien Broner's to take. It's his to lose as well. The only way Manny comes out of this looking great is if all of a sudden he can muster a performance of a Manny Pacquiao performance of old. If he can muster one up. And he kind of did against Lucas Matisse. But I believe that, and no disrespect to Matisse, Adrien Broner is a much talented fighter. I like the fact that you're going with Adrien Broner only because it really solidifies what we're both saying, that this is going to be a decent fight. You know, it may not have been a fight that anybody initially wanted to see, but I do think it's going to be a good fight. So I'm officially picking Manny. Do you think Adrien Broner is going to knock him out?
I think he could. I think it's going to be late stoppage. I think Adrien Broner is going to rally, and either the referee is going to stop him or Manny's going to be down more than one time in a round, and the referee is going to see enough thinking he's an aging fighter. Here's one of the reasons why, too, Phil. as we often do in the game of boxing, because let's face it, we're emotional people too. If I thought in my heart, I'm looking back at the warrior that Manny Pacquiao that I've seen him be, and that's the fighter that I always see coming into the ring. But that fact does not remain any longer. And so, what I'm trying to say with my head in this decision that I'm going with Broner is that we, as you said earlier, we haven't seen Manny Pacquiao as we remembered him being in quite a few years. And if that's what everybody else, including the fan base of Manny Pacquiao, is also expecting to see, they're going to be disappointed. And like I said, this is the fight that is an easy fight for Adrien Broner to get up for, knowing the significant value of him walking away with a victory could do for his career. And this is a make-or-break fight for Broner at that level. And Manny Pacquiao, unfortunately, is going to be a make-or-break fight for him, too. And I just see that, if I had envisioned the old Manny Pacquiao going into the ring, yeah, I'd pick Manny, but I'm not. I haven't seen the real Manny Pacquiao in quite a few years, so that's why I'm going with Broner, too.
Well, like I said, he did resemble Pacquiao of old in his last fight against Lucas Matisse, but I'm giving Adrien Broner, he's much better fighter than Lucas Matisse, at least at this stage. So we'll see. We'll be looking forward to it. We'll be talking about it post-fight next time. So you're not going to want to miss that. I got a couple of emails. This one's from my man James. He says, "Hey, Billy C, being a long-time listener, I remember when you'd kick off the year by asking the listeners for their top 10 greats. My all-time great list is heavy with heavyweights. I chose fighters who were fun to watch and who struck me as being dynamic in and out of the ring. Note, Manny and Floyd are nowhere on here." I did. I had asked for it, but, it was a little bit of our fault, a little bit of the listeners' fault. We were trying to do it, and then we weren't doing the shows at the end of the year. So, anyway, he's got, this is my man James, and he says also, congrats on the new channel. Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out that channel, check it out. You can get all the information, Ginico. USA.com, GINIKO USA.com, and I've been loving it myself. Dax says he likes it. I love checking out some of the old stuff we've done. We've opened up the archives. We've got all kinds of plans for this year, and I'm seeing them revisited a lot, Sal, and
I love it. I love it.
There was one I was watching the other day, and we were having some technical difficulties while we were live. And none of that was cut out, so you could see me looking at the screen going, why isn't it starting? And you're sitting there with this, you look like you were just like with a fake smile because the camera was live, like, what are you doing, trying to talk to me through the side of your mouth? Like, it was funny. There was more comedy going on with nothing happening. I was laughing my ass off. But anyway, James's top 10 going from 10 to 1. Marvin Hagler is his all-time great. Number 10. Number 9, B-Hop. Number 8, Sugar Ray Robinson. I'll just say, Sugar Ray Robinson's my number 1. I mean, any list you want to give me, all-time great, pound for pound, whatever, Sugar Ray Robinson's number 1. According to James, he's number 8. Arturo Gotti, number 7. Wow, that's a shocking one. Mickey Ward, number 6. He says, I listed Ward and Gotti back-to-back because their fights were against each other, were wars. They were, but... I mean, come on, man. Listen, I'm not, this is all subjective, but all-time greats, no disrespect to Mickey Ward or Arturo Gotti, there's no way they could be ahead of Sugar Ray Robinson. But
Henry Armstrong?
Anyway, he's not even on his list. Number 5 is Sugar Ray Leonard. Number 4 is Jake LaMotta. Number 3 is Joe Louis. Number 2, Iron Mike Tyson.
Where's Roberto Duran?
And number 1 is Muhammad Ali. Duran is he's not here. He's still got a full head of hair, more than me, that's for sure. But thanks for the email, James. I got another one here. This one's from Jesse, and he says, "Hey Billy C and Sal, I'll tell you what Mikey is seeing in Spence that he will exploit later when the fight gets closer. But that does not mean. But but does that mean Spence will make an adjustment during the fight and before? He says, okay, so he says he's going to tell us what Mikey Garcia sees in Errol Spence when the fight gets closer. Why not tell us now, Jesse? Tell us now. You know, I mean, come on. Hey, listen. I like
Errol Spence off. If you want to tip him off,
I love that fight. Okay, I am saying many people are saying that Mikey Garcia is chasing the money and that doesn't have a chance and blah blah blah. But let me tell you something. Errol Spence, who's he fought? I mean, I am not questioning this guy's ability, but who has he fought? You know, his biggest win was the cat from England with the broken eye socket. You know, aside from that, he broke his second eye socket. But you know, aside from that, and I'm not suggesting he's not talented, but his ego is getting in the way. And Mikey Garcia, you can say what you want about Mikey Garcia, and Errol Spence will be the bigger fighter on fight night. There's no question about it. He'll probably outweigh Mikey Garcia by at least 15. But Mikey Garcia is the type of fighter, and the reason why I love him is because he adjusts and he has fought every other style. But the best thing about Mikey Garcia is that when he fights in a fight, he is fighting round by round, and his goal is to win round after round. If you notice what he does, regardless of the fighter he fights and the style in which that fighter possesses, Mikey Garcia will try to outpunch his opponent in that round. If his opponent throws 5 punches, I'll bet you dollars to donuts that Mikey Garcia will throw 10. That's how he wins these fights. If a knockout comes, so be it. But he'll win a fight on decision. Now, as far as Errol Spence Jr., he's going to have to withstand his power because Mikey Garcia has been down in his career. The question is if Errol Spence connects with Mikey Garcia, will he get up? But I do like the fight. I think it's going to, even though naysayers will say that Mikey Garcia is moving up and he's fighting a bigger guy and Errol Spence is in a no-win situation. I think we're going to learn a lot about Errol Spence in this fight, regardless of if he wins or loses. I really do. I don't think it's a layup for him, Sal.
No, I don't think it's a layup for him. And you know, I'd hate to just blurt out, and I won't say anything else about it. My prediction now, but going into the fight on paper, black and white for me, and just right now, I do see Errol Spence winning that fight. But you know, as we get closer to it, I think we'll have good, valid reasons across the aisle to see why both fighters are likely to have good points of how each of them can win and beat the other fighter. But like I said, just unemotionally, my first pick and going off the top, I'm going to pick Errol Spence to win that fight.
Oh no, anybody that you know wants to put money on the fight should put it on Errol Spence. I'm just suggesting that
Mikey Garcia is a hell of a fighter.
Exactly. Second, and I give him credit for fighting this fight.
Me too. I mean, you know, this is Billy. This is what personifies what you and I always want, and we always ask for, and we always see a fighter challenging himself. And Mikey Garcia sought this fight out, and that's the whole thing. That's so beautiful to see. And maybe, you know what, that's the passion, that's the glory, that's the heart, and that's the true spirit of a warrior, to challenge themselves, to make sure and to see if they are really the best. And what do? You go after who everyone else thinks the best. So with that being said right there, hey, maybe Mikey does know something that nobody else knows, and that's what he believes in himself. His heart, his passion, his desire, his tools, his ability to get up for the occasion and to be dominant. And that's all it takes. I mean, it's not all it takes, but it certainly is a good foundation, good formula to go into any fight.
And 3 judges in your back pocket. That usually helps too.
There you go. That's it. Can I say it again? Bingo.
Yeah. He says, Jesse says, it looks like Khan and Crawford's going to happen, although not confirmed. Interesting fight. Should be a test for Crawford. It is going to be announced this week. I'm not so sure it's going to be a test for Crawford. Crawford's an exceptional fight. You know, there's people out there that criticize me about giving Terence Crawford the accolades I do. But I'm telling you, man, I've been watching boxing for, let's see, at least 40-something years. I've been involved in the business for 35. I'm telling you right now, Terence Crawford is an exceptional fighter. The biggest problem that TC has right now is Bob Arum. And I'm not suggesting that Bob hasn't done a good job to get him where he is. I just think that Bob hasn't done a good job in making him a household name. And it's just, he's making himself a household name by his performance. But this guy should be more well known. He can do it all. And time's ticking for him, too. Amir Khan, no disrespect. I've always liked him. He doesn't have a chance against her. I don't even think that fight's going to be close, to be honest with you.
No, and I agree with you 100% there. Terence Crawford, let me tell you, we talk about it, and yes, he also is the definitive or the reason or the warrior mentality. This guy rises to the occasion. He does it in such a graceful, such a beautiful manner. He'll dismantle his opponent, and you know what? Never count Terence Crawford out, because this guy, like I said, he has that heart, that passion, that desire, that design. He knows how to win, and that's something that's innate. It's not just something you learn. He knows how to win. He believes himself. And Terence Crawford, I give him all the accolades. He definitely, I think he'll win this fight. Not easy, he'll win.
Jesse wants to give his picks for tonight's fights. He's picking Jose over Plant via a split decision. He's taking Figueroa over Flores in a late take TKO. And he says in an unusual fight, he's taking Ahmed over Green. And he wants to know, do I like Jose Ramirez against Jose Zepeda? He says, is this bout a stay busy bout for Ramirez? Zepeda hasn't fought anybody. Today it's hard to stay busy fights because fighters don't fight as frequently as they used to. And the fact that so many fighters are coddled on the way up. What boxing has become, and a great example of it is Jarrell Miller, who I think is a total fraud. Jarrell Miller actually has a strap around his fat-ass waist of his. I don't know how many extensions they had to get for him, but the truth of the matter is he does have a belt, but he has fought no one. And his first so-called title defense is against another heavyweight that's not even a legitimate. I know he's in the top 10 of somebody's rankings, but let's be real, he's not a legitimate top 10. So what happens with today's sport is that they give him a title, their promotional team or management team, whatever, buys a title, because that's all you got to do now. You buy a title. Then you make title defenses, and you get better as you're making these title defenses, which should be the other way around. You should be climbing the ladder and developing and honing your skills on the way up. Then when you're a champion, you're a real champion. But what we see today, because of all the belts, is we see these hand-picked opponents to get a fighter up to 20-some-odd fights. Then their team buys the belt with some slam-dunk fight for a vacant belt. Then you see these guys fight a couple of other fighters that are, decent. They hone their skills, and then the unification fights become the real fights. So theoretically, fighters of today could fight 25 times before they're in a fight with a legitimate top guy. Another great example is Deontay Wilder. He wins his title, and really his last two fights were against top opposition in Luis Ortiz and Tyson Fury. And he came through with flying colors with the Luis Ortiz fight. And hopefully he will have learned something in the Tyson Fury fight. So is it a stay busy fight? I don't know. I know Zepeda hasn't really fought anybody, but he's come out looking good. Jose Ramirez is a quality fighter, but you can only look at his last couple of fights as being against real opposition. It's the type of fight that the winner is actually proving that he's in the conversation. That's the way I see it, Sal.
I agree with you. You said it. I always give you credit for it. You dissect it. You look at it. You analyze it, and you come up with the right words to validify.
Validate.
But anyway.
Validate.
Validate. Let me punch your validation ticket, please. But no, that's a great point, and I really do agree with you. And these stay busy fights and everything else. If fighters fought 3, 4, 5 times a year, like most fighters used to find it very easy to do, it wouldn't be just a stay busy fight, but it would be a significant fight for their career.
Well, a couple of good fights coming up to close out this month for sure, and we will be watching them and giving you our predictions on the fights prior to, and of course our post-fight thoughts and analysis after the fight. So anyway, I guess that wraps it up for today, Sal, and I just want to remind everybody to check out the new channel. It's pretty cool once you sign up, and it's for free. All the info on how to get it and where it's available, like on Roku and Google Play and all the other streaming avenues. Which there's so many of them. If you go to GinnecoUSA.com, you'll see where it is. You probably already have one of the services. So check it out. It's we got a lot of cool stuff running up there, and you'll catch the Boxing Revisited that Sal and I did. There's also some shows that Sal and I have done. There's some early shows that Alex and I have done. Some other roundtable discussions where we've had. I'm in the process of pulling and putting a lot of the blast from the past that Alex Papali does with me up there. And like I have said last week, we also are going to be pulling a lot of interviews that we did on the radio. So we don't have video, but we have the audio that I will replay and get the mindsets of some familiar fighters today, like Danny Garcia, Tyson Fury, to name a couple, as well as some all-time greats like Sugar Ray Leonard and many more, and their mindsets of where they were during that time. And Sal and I are going to give you our thoughts on them, and we'll give you a history of where they went from the time we interviewed. There's a couple of them, like Danny Garcia specifically, and I remember asking him, hey, so when you become rich and famous and a world champion, you're going to come back, you're going to do, oh, yeah, and he changed his number. But in any event, Sal, look forward to next week. I could say this to all you guys and girls out there. Make sure you tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.